your expertise, develop your skills.
Okay.
It can happen like in private. You can also do that in public. That is also a way of building a personal brand, but I'll get to that.
Okay, cool.
So I'm surround myself with smartest people on the internet. The best place is Twitter. So you think, hey, being data driven is good. I don't agree with using like or being held down by data purely because you want to be data driven.
In your case, you have created quite a personal brand for yourself, at least according to me, because you are flying high on Twitter and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about marketing, and this is not going to be a basic like traditional marketing which we are going to talk about. We are going to drill deep into your kind of experience and how exactly you forayed into multiple domains. But before all of that, let's do this thing that you can introduce yourself and also about your experience, and then maybe we can go ahead.
Okay. So I started off studying engineering like most of us would, and I was pretty sure that I didn't want to be an engineer and I wanted to do something in marketing. And even though after engineering I joined Infosys, the urge to be a marketer was still there. So I started off by freelancing, taking up content gigs, writing content, and luckily one of these agency owners really liked what I wrote, and he asked me, hey, instead of doing freelancing, why don't you come in full time and you can develop into being a marketer, right? So that was his pitch. And my only basic expectation was, can he at least come close to the salary that I'm getting paid? And he was able to do that. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let me take the jump because I have nothing to lose. This was 2013, right? This was 2012, 2013, where there weren't a lot of marketing jobs within India. The few jobs that were available were within an agency.
Okay.
So I took that up, started there as a content writer. But luckily for me, the person who was leading digital marketing, he quit and he moved on to another gig.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so someone had to do it, and then being the enthusiastic person that I was at that time, I was like me, and then yeah, that's where it started.
Okay.
And yeah, I've just progressed from there to like multiple other roles.
Okay, got it. So 10 years of experience, and you basically started in the year 2012, 13ish.
Correct.
So I think that was the tip wherein we were foraying into this industry, where we were changing the terms and norms of marketing from traditional to doing it more on a digital front. Like, online marketing was on. It actually started, but it was not. It was not at the level at which it is right now. So now that you have spent 10 years into this industry, how has things evolved from like marketing perspective?
I think you're right. Marketing, at least in the years of our parents, has been very traditional. They didn't have like a lot of tracking, but especially in the last 10-15 years, marketing has become a lot more data driven, right?
Okay.
You put in your effort and you're able to know like what's happening and then adjust your campaigns accordingly. And the cycle time that you take to get inputs from your audience has become much shorter. So right now, if you look at most companies have budgets both for traditional marketing as well as digital, but the ratio has shifted more towards digital for most companies.
Vibin, you have like a lot of experience in SaaS marketing only, because you have been more or less into B2B marketing only.
Yeah.
So take us through that. Like, how is B2B marketing very different from B2C? Okay, just to give you more context, I was from a B2B, I was initially working into B2C domain. I worked in that domain for 3 years. I went into B2B to work there for 2 years. And then again, I'm into a B2C domain. So I think there is like, B2C, B2B is like two different kind of a world which you can see. That's my experience.
Yeah.
What about you? Like, how do you think that, B2B is what and how it is different actually from B2C, like in all the aspects of it.
Yeah. So I very briefly had a B2C experience. Like right after when I said I joined an agency, I had a B2C experience. Like right after I finished my agency,
Okay.
for a year I was working for a B2C company where we were directly selling to consumers. For me, I felt B2C is a lot more difficult to crack than B2B, but it differs from people to people. Like you might have like a completely different view, but for me, from my understanding, I felt B2C was much harder. And post that journey, like post that experience, my trend with Freshworks started. And Freshworks is a SaaS company which sells to other businesses,
Yeah.
and so there I was sort of hired to take care of the non-pay channels. So yeah, that's what I did.
So, but still, like, again, like, how at Freshworks, how was your experience? Because I think you joined Freshworks when they went on and to get listed for IPO.
Yeah.
So now maybe we can touch base on that kind of an contribution as a marketeer. How was the time back then, and how did marketing things sort of help them to reach this stage wherein they can actually go and be a public listing? Because
Yeah.
I remember Freshworks, because when they did IPO, that time I was working with Haptech, and I think that was one of the biggest SaaS IPO that happened,
Yeah.
like as compared to in a decade or so, maybe. So Freshworks was like a huge IPO that
Yeah.
happened, and like how was the time? How was the
Yeah.
marketing stuff that was playing in?
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think being at Freshworks was wonderful. Being part of the first SaaS company that went IPO, which was built in India, in the US. It went IPO in the US, right? We were listed on Nasdaq, so that was amazing. So to understand how Freshworks got there, we have to sort of dive a little bit into how Freshworks did marketing. Freshworks started off by focusing on paid ads, which is your Google Ads, Google AdWords. So their like go to market was very simple, right? Hey, can we bid on the right keywords which people are searching for? And when people are searching for it, people come to your website. You have a free trial product. You try it out, and they like the product. If they really like the product, they go ahead and sign up and buy the product, right?
Okay.
So it was very product led. So the job of the marketers was then to sort of get people who were searching for the right terms. Okay. So that is how they started off.
Okay.
And over a period of time, Freshworks became like a little bit more dependent on paid ads.
Got
right?
it.
But for any good company, after you reach a particular scale, you want a good mix of leads that is coming from paid as well as non-paid channels, right?
Okay.
Else it wouldn't be sustainable. And that is where I come in, where my role was to sort of ensure that we are also getting leads from the non-paid channels.
Non-paid channels include?
It can be SEO,
Okay.
it can be like third-party websites, which can give us referral traffic. It can even be some communities. It can even be social for that matter, right?
Okay.
But anything that we don't pay money for, anything that's organic, will come under these non-paid channels.
Got it.
Yeah. So my mandate was to flip the paid to non-paid ratio in favor of non-paid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what was the aftermath of that? Like, did the ratio reverse?
Yeah, it did. So I think while I started off, I think it was probably around 60-40 in favor of paid. Paid was 60, non-paid was 40. By the time I left, we had flipped it to 38 in favor of paid and 62 in favor of non-paid.
Okay.
So yeah,
And this happened in how many years?
it happened over a period of 3 to 4 years.
And what were like the standout strategies when we reverse this ratio from paid, non-paid to this thing?
Yeah. So see, when
You can just name like the top one. We need not like to
Yeah.
deep dive here. We
Yeah.
just want to know that okay, this thing worked, because I think a lot of companies make a lot of effort into paid marketing, and that at some point of time they realize is that this is just going way out of order, and they pay absolutely no efforts to organic thing, and I
Yeah.
think that's not even in their charts. So that's where the per acquisition cost is like sort of higher.
absolutely.
So, but in your case, it's little interesting. So, how did you flip this ratio?
No, see, like I said, I was not. I didn't have to do a lot of things from ground up, right?
Okay.
I already had the paid advertising data, the PPC data. They were already bidding on like a few keywords, so we know what keyword is working for us and which keywords bring us revenue. So for me, my job was cut out, right? Can I build the right content which can then help us rank for the right keywords, right? So that worked beautifully for us. SEO worked beautifully for us. And if you look at most PLG companies, right, let's say a Canva or let's say even like something like Freshworks, most companies like this like want to unlock this SEO traffic so that they can have this for a long period of time at the least amount of cost. So I think SEO worked really well for us at that time, especially when we were trying to flip that ratio. One more thing which is also amazing about SEO is the quality of traffic that you get from SEO is much higher. You will always see the leads that come in from like an organic channel gives you much more revenue than what comes in from a paid channel. Like no one can explain this, but if you look at the data of multiple companies, you would see that trend over and over again. So yeah, that's what helped.
And also here, I have this one query that you had a lot of data because they were doing a lot of paid initiatives, right?
Yeah.
And that could have, I think that data must have helped you a lot in cracking your SEO strategy, right? So here, if somebody wants to crack SEO, but maybe there could be a scenario wherein they have not run a paid initiative to this particular at this level. I mean, they could have started parallelly with both these activities. Then now that you have cracked this SEO game plus with data, for somebody who wants to understand SEO and want to crack in, we'll not touch base onto this very basic understanding of what SEO is, but how can somebody crack SEO plus when they don't have like access to a lot of data here? So
see, having paid data is an advantage.
Okay.
But because you don't have it doesn't mean you can't scale SEO quickly. So I want to break down that sort of notion. So the way you would think about doing SEO is it needs to start from the product.
Okay.
You need to understand your product and decide, hey, what can drive traffic and hence usage for my product, right? So that's your first goal, is to understand the product and then sort of understand the queries that people would use to search for that product.
Okay.
Let's say, for example,
the USP features of a product.
The USP features, or how do you even describe a product, right? Let's say, for example, there is a customer support tool.
Okay.
What are the different ways in which a person sort of searches for a customer support tool, right? It can be customer support software, it can be a help desk software, it can be a ticketing system. These are all different words in which they use to sort of describe that particular tool.
Okay.
Right? Or it can even be something as specific as, hey, customer knowledge base, right? Customer knowledge base can be a feature which people are then searching, which is a part of our tool, right? So once you understand what your product is capable of, you would also understand the different keywords that people use to define that particular tool, right? And the data that you need, you always have like a bunch of third party vendors, like let's say Ahrefs or SEMrush, which will give you
Okay.
the monthly search volume data, right?
Got it.
So the ideal way to do keyword research is how I mentioned, but most people just flip it. They directly go to Ahrefs or SEMrush and then they do keyword research. That works too.
Okay.
But I'm just giving you like a different point of view where that's probably the actual right way of doing it. You start from the product.
Got it. And for a new enterprise which they have recently started and they want to, of course, their office job would be to have online presence, because how otherwise they're going to sell the product, and SEO could like tick the first box because they need to do some stuffs around that. So for them, how long is this practice of SEO going to take so as to generate organic traffic for them?
Yeah. See, I would say even before you go there, you need to ask yourself whether your product is fit for the SEO channel, right? You do
Okay.
that by what I said. You do keyword research. You understand whether you have enough search volume for you to even like consider that channel to be useful, right?
Okay.
Let's for this example, let's take it that search volume is available. This product can be sort of pushed on search. Let's have that thought. If we have that thought, I would say, if you have like a proper plan, a proper keyword plan and a content plan and an execution timeline, I have generally seen most SaaS companies produce some sort of a traffic within like 3 months, right?
Oh, okay.
Within 2 to 3 months, they start that. But SEO is just like compounding, right? Like compounding gets better and better when when the time increases is when compounding gets better, right?
Yes.
So I would say, instead of looking at it like, hey, what do I get at the end of month 3 or month 1, I would say you should think about it in a long term holistic view. That's when you get the best benefit out of looking at a channel like SEO.
Okay, got it. Now maybe we can, progress a lot of our discussion into creating personal brand. See, as in today's day and age, I think personal brand is everybody, right from the top-notch entrepreneurs to somebody who is sort of starting up. You have created quite a personal brand for yourself, at least according to me, because you are flying high on Twitter and all that stuff. So how do somebody, start, first of all, creating their own personal brand, and how relevant that is in today's day and age?
Yeah. See, I think I would say, even with respect to Nikhil, right? I think his intention seems very different. His intention seems to like be learning about a particular thing, and then he records it as a podcast, and then by the function of it, he's building a personal brand or whatever, right? My intention was pretty simple. Like, I really enjoy like putting my ideas out and having a conversation with people around those ideas, right?
Okay.
So I would just do, even if we didn't have a podcast, we would probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I just use Twitter as a place for that, Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever as a place for that. I just put out my thoughts. I wait for people to respond, and I try and respond to. And because I write about something that I'm interested in, I've been able to do it for like a period of time. And once you do something consistently for a greater period of time, you invariably tend to sort of build like a knack for it.
Okay.
And people also sort of observe that you're showing up every day, and if they resonate with your thoughts, they become your following, right? That's how you become a personal brand technically. So I didn't start out to build a personal brand, but let's say, irrespective of whatever you're curious about, I would say putting your thoughts out there somewhere on social media is great. So put it out there. If you put it out there, you will automatically build a personal brand. But for the lack of, I think I'm using the word personal brand for lack of a better word, but if you ask me how important it is, I think it's important, right?
Okay.
Um,
In what sense it is important?
it gets you in the door. Like, there are multiple companies which you don't know, but they know you, and then they are like, hey, do you want to interview for this role, right? Or they are like, hey, we are looking for a particular expert. I followed your content, I think you can help us here, can you come in, right? Whether you get the client, whether you get the job, that is up to you, your conversation, but they are reaching out to you, they know
Okay.
you, right? So that's getting your foot into the door. That is where it becomes important.
You basically become known to unknowns, like.
Correct.
Got it. I think you have like a massive following on Twitter. By all means, 11K is a huge and a great number to crack in.
Yeah.
Was Twitter anytime, helped you get yourself through the door, maybe?
The fun part, like my current job, I work at Turing,
Yeah.
and there was a person, she reached out to me. She was working at Turing. She reached out to me on Twitter after listening to me speak on one of the spaces.
Oh.
So she was like, hey, we are trying to build a community for Turing. My manager is interested in someone who can help us grow this community. Do you want to come on board? That's how I got into a conversation with the head of community. But then I said, hey, I'm a marketer. I want to be a marketer. And then she was like, hey, I think we still might be hiring for marketing. Why don't you go talk to this other leader who runs marketing, right?
Oh.
So yeah, that's how it happened. So
That's quite an interesting story. I think I
Yeah.
was looking for that nugget only somewhere. Okay, Vibin, interesting question. So, if somebody who is going to start their journey in creating a great personal space, personal brand for themselves, so how do they like go ahead into doing that?
yeah,
And these can be like out of college kids going to start their respective careers, or somebody who already has started, but they just want to start creating their own brand, because brand never goes to waste.
yeah,
So help those individuals.
right. So let's say I'm this 20-year-old kid wanting to be like a well-known brand in, let's say, the area of finance, right, or stock market trading or whatever, right?
Okay.
How I would start off is exactly by doing that, by understanding where do I want to build my space in personal brand in. So now we have decided, that person has decided that it's finance.
Okay, that's first initially the space, like in
Correct.
which category do you want to grow in?
Correct. Deciding the category, deciding the niche. That's the
Okay.
first part. Second part is you go and find out the smartest people on Twitter who are constantly posting about that particular category.
Okay.
That's number two. Third, you have to sort of get an idea of what's working for them, right? You understand, you read their content, you understand what they're posting, why are they getting this traction and all of that, right? You do
Okay.
that. One more thing that a lot of people miss doing is you also need to build your own expertise. People think that, hey, you cannot have any expertise, you can just create content and build a personal brand, but that can only take you so far. So I would say the fourth step is, once you start reading what these people are writing, you also run these experiments to build expertise on your own, right?
For example?
For example, like, hey, if you want to build a personal brand as a finance guy or a stock market trader, if you aren't trading yourself, then what are you doing?
Oh, so you basically run through your own examples or your own instances that this is the problem, this is how I try to solve it.
I'm not even saying document your journey. All
Okay.
I'm saying is develop your expertise, develop your skills.
Okay.
It can happen like in private. You can also do that in public. That is also a way of building a personal brand, but I'll get to that.
Okay, cool.
So I'm saying, like, in the process of building a personal brand, don't just focus on how to crack an algorithm, but also focus on developing your expertise is all that I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So once you follow that people, and let's say you've also developed a certain level of expertise, what you want to do is, even before you create content, before you have a content strategy, have a comment strategy, right? So add value to existing conversations that are happening, because when you post, when you have like 10 followers, how much impressions will you get, right? You'll probably maximum get 30, 40, 50.
Okay.
So instead, if you flip the whole thing and comment on these people who are getting hundreds and millions of impressions, at least you're guaranteed to get much better impressions than what you would had you been posting on your own, right? So always add a thoughtful comment, always add something that you think about it, give it a new spin, disagree, agree, but give an extra point. That, I think those things all work.
Okay.
It's very simple.
That's basically engaging with other accounts with some thoughtful.
Correct.
Okay.
Imagine it to be like a conversation, like both of us are talking, there's a third person who's coming in, we are talking about a particular topic. How will we be interested in the other person, right?
Okay.
He listens to what we are talking, and then he has a very interesting point to add. I think that's the same thing that has to happen on Twitter as well. And once you do it, once you start doing it, do that over like a good enough period of time. I'm telling you, you'll get your followers. Nothing else matters, because everything else I think is very simple, and you'll figure out, hey, do I need to use image? Do I need to like post at the right time? All these things I think are very unimportant.
Okay.
That you can find out. The most important part is what we spoke about.
Okay. So for on Twitter, what are like the short, maybe your takeaways? These things, these content points, or if you do things in this particular fashion, they definitely work.
Okay.
A smart way of doing Twitter, since you have been doing this for like a decade now.
See,
just give us like really juicy nuggets here. That's it. We don't
I
want
mean,
to know.
it's very hard, because I don't have like an answer like that. But see, if you're just having fun, Twitter is just a great place to have fun. Like I have a lot of fun. Like you can always sort of say what you want to say, but in a funny way.
Okay.
Right? That works really well on Twitter. Like what you wouldn't expect to work on like a platform like LinkedIn or Instagram would work really well on Twitter if you go really deep. Let's say you pick any topic, you write a thread, you go really deep, Twitter will find you, right? Twitter will find you for that. But on LinkedIn, if you don't like that surface level topics which are entertaining, most people will ignore. But on Twitter, great research gets appreciated and accepted. Yeah,
got it.
that's one difference, is what I would say.
Okay, do you want to add another?
Another would be, see, one thing which is very common for all of these platforms is, if they are trying to push a particular feature, just get on it, right? So let's say, for example, when Instagram started stories, if you had to grow, the first thing that you need to do is you had to post at least 10 stories a day. You would have grown, like
Okay.
have an open account, start posting that. Even for Reels, right? When Reels started, they were pushing Reels. Now we have a tab just for Reels, but when they started, they didn't, right? So the thing that you had to do is, okay, now you understand what that particular platform is pushing, and then start creating content around that.
Okay. Interesting.